Hey everyone, this is Dan. I recently bought some shares of PayPal and Square, and I'd like to share with you what I found about these two companies. First of all, I'll talk about my price targets. For PayPal, I expect the price to reach $300 a share, and for Square, I expect the price to reach $280 a share by the end of July 2021. As of now, which is the morning of March 18th, 2021, the current prices are for PayPal $244 and for Square about $236. So definitely there's some more room to move upwards for both stocks. What does PayPal do? It's a technology platform and a digital payments company, and the products are primarily PayPal, PayPal Credit, Braintree, Venmo, which is a very popular cash transfer app, Zoom, Hyperwallet, and iZettle. They also offers gateway services that enable merchants to accept payments online. For Square, which is a younger company, they were only founded in 2009. They offer tools that enable sellers to accept card payments, which is very similar to PayPal, basically electronic payments. And they also provide reporting and analytics. And they also sell hardware products such as Mac Stripe Reader. They also offer other software products to help the merchants process and receive as well as analyze payments. Their flagship product is called Cash App, which enables the customers to send, spend, and store money. They also offer this Weebly service that offers customer website hosting. Let's look at the charts. The candlestick chart here is for Square, and the blue line chart here is PayPal. As you can see, in the last year, Square went up 246%, which is extremely impressive, and PayPal also went up quite a bit, 156%. That's very impressive as well. Although recently they dipped a little bit from the all-time high, primarily because of the sector rotation out of the tech sector. Let's look at the volatility of PayPal and Square. This is a 6-month chart. Each bar here is a day. The candlestick chart here is Square, and the blue line chart here is for PayPal. As you can see, PayPal is a little bit less volatile than Square. In the meanwhile, QQQ, which is the ETF pegged to the NASDAQ 100 index, is down here. In other words, both PayPal and Square are a lot more volatile than QQQ. This white line here is TQQQ, which is the ETF that's triple the volatility of QQQ. If you look at Square, it's almost as volatile as TQQQ. In other words, I'll be very careful when I invest in Square or PayPal, especially with Square. When the market starts moving down, I will probably be selling my positions rather quickly. And then, of course, when I see bullish momentum, that's the time when I'm going to buy in and profit from the market momentum. Although for the long term, in the next 3 to 6 months, I'm very bullish on both Square and PayPal. I'll talk about it in the next few minutes. This is the daily chart for PayPal. I printed this chart at market closing yesterday, which is 4 p.m. March 17. As you can see, after PayPal reached the all-time high of $309 a share, it started to go down with the tech sector sell-off. And then in the last 5-6 days, it started to recover. When you look at RSI, we do see a warning signal here showing the stock being overbought right at the time when it peaked out. So RSI is a pretty good indicator for PayPal. And then the DMI indicator sent a sell signal just when the price started to drop, and that was confirmed by another sell signal for MACD. And that's why I believe the RSI, DMI, and MACD are good technical indicators for PayPal. Now we are almost getting a buy signal, although it's not quite confirmed yet from MACD. Let's zoom into the hourly period. In the last 6-7 days, we can see that it's mostly going flat with this slightly downward sloping channel. And then as you can see, it hit the top here at market closing yesterday. The question is whether it's going to come down or not. In fact, as of this morning, it did come down. We'll see a 15-minute chart later. Let's look at the support and resistance levels for PayPal. We have here a very critical support or resistance point of 255, which is the 50-day moving average, as well as the Bollinger Band midband, which is the 20-day moving average. And then above that, we have another resistance line, which is this short-term peak at 276. For support level, we have the 100-day moving average of 233, and below that, we have this support level of 226. This is the 15-minute chart that I printed a few minutes ago at 12:15 p.m. today, March 18, 2021. The first thing you notice is that it did not break the 255 resistance, which was the 50-day moving average. So that's already a bearish sign for this morning. And then we see this downward trending channel. In fact, as of this morning, it went below the low point as of yesterday. That's another bearish sign. We see a sell signal here triggered this morning with MACD. The big question at this point is whether the price is going to bounce back up since it already hit the support line. If it bounces back up, then I'll wait for it to come down again, retest the support line, and if it makes a higher low and starts to go up again, then I'll probably buy more shares. On the other hand, if it starts going down below the support line, I might even sell some of the shares I already have. And I like to emphasize that even I own the shares of PayPal and Square, I gotta be honest with you, for the long term, 3 to 6 months, I think those are good stocks to have. But for the next few days, this is definitely not a good time to buy. When I do buy more shares, I will enter update notes below this video. So make sure to come back and check this webpage again for my update notes. Or I might even post a new video after a few days if there have been major changes. At this point, I'd like to say that I would very much appreciate if you can click the like, subscribe, and notification button so that you'll be notified when I post a new video in the future. This is also for the sake of the YouTube algorithm. Let's continue. Let's look at Square. This is the daily chart. It's been going up pretty much in the last few months, except because of the tech sector sell-off, Square has been coming down also since around February 8th. In the last week or so, it's been staging a recovery. Here we almost see a positive buy signal from MACD. But as of this morning, it actually went down a little bit. This is the hourly chart. In the last day and a half, it's been going downward, reversing this upward trend. And then it attempted a recovery as of yesterday. The picture this morning is a little bit different. Let's look at the support and resistance levels. As of market closing yesterday, we can see a resistance level at 253 and then another historical resistance level at 276. We see a support level at 240, which is the 50-day moving average and the 20-day moving average, the midband of the Bollinger Bands. Then we see another support level here, which is the 100-day moving average of 219. Below that, there's another support level, which is at this low point here of 200. Let's hope the price doesn't get to that point anytime soon. I printed this chart a few minutes ago, which was 12:15 p.m. March 18, 2021. The first thing I noticed is that the price breached the 240 support that we discussed in the last chart. So that's a bearish sign already. In addition, it went below this low point of yesterday. That's another bearish sign. So definitely short term, it is not the time to buy Square yet. We also see this downward trend line. We also see the sell signal from DMI issued this morning right before market open, and then the sell signal from MACD that got triggered last night after market. The big question at this point is whether the price is going to bounce up quickly. As we can see, at least for the last couple of hours, it's been trying to recover. Most likely it's going to go up and then it's going to come down. The question is whether it's going to make a higher low. If it can make a higher low and start heading up again, I might buy more shares for swing trading, and then I'll be very watchful when it start hitting this resistance line. If it start coming down again, I might sell and take some profit at that point. Of course, if it will beat this resistance lines and continue to go up, that'll be even better. Again, I don't advise to buy Square in the next few days until you see a definitive bullish pattern. But for the next 3 to 6 months, I'm still very positive on both Square and PayPal. Let's look at the fundamentals. First of all, let's look at PayPal. As you can see, their revenues have been growing very nicely in the last 4 years, and the profit has been going up as well. The most impressive part is that their revenue and profit did not seem to have been impacted by the pandemic. It's still going up nicely. If you look back a few more years, starting from 2015, we see this very nice increase in revenues. That's a very positive sign for PayPal. If you look at Square, their revenues increase even more, especially in 2020, their revenues double from 2019. If you go back a few years, starting from 2016, we see this very robust growth in revenues for Square, which is a very positive sign. Let's look at the analyst opinions of the two companies. As of closing yesterday, March 17, PayPal was at $248 a share and Square at $240 a share. And my target is $300 for PayPal and $280 for Square, much higher than the current price. Yahoo gives PayPal a buy rating at 1.8 out of 5, and the target is 306.6, which is definitely higher than the current price and higher than my target even. Louis Navellier gives them a overall B rating, which is a buy rating. TipRanks.com give them a strong buy, and the high target is 375, the average target is 307.94, and the low target is 241, definitely higher than the current price. CNN Money rates them as a buy with a high target of 375, medium of 310, and low 241. TheStreet.com rates them a buy at A-, and the target is 333. For Square, Yahoo gives them a buy rating of 2.3 out of 5 and a target of 266.55. Louis Navellier gives them an overall B rating, which is a buy rating. TipsRank.com is a strong buy with a high target of 375, average of 307.94, and low target of 241. And CNN Money gives Square a buy rating with high target of 380, medium 271, and low 155. TheStreet.com gives them only a hold rating, and the target is not available. So TheStreet.com is not as bullish on Square as they are on PayPal. Let's look at my own valuation of PayPal. What I did was that I took the top 10 banks and I added in PayPal, Square, Visa, MasterCard, and American Express and compared their PE ratios. The current PE ratio, the trailing PE, and the forward PE ratio. I applied the earnings growth rate of 22.2% for PayPal, which is reasonable looking at their history, and that's the number used by Yahoo Finance. And I applied the forward PE ratio of 60 based on these numbers here, which is a little bit on the high side, but since PayPal has been growing, I'm comfortable with that number. And I used the earnings for 2020, extrapolate into 2021, 2022, and 2023, and arrive at my target of $280 a share. This is my evaluation of Square. Again, I start with the PE ratios of the top banks as well as credit card companies. Assume a growth of 54.22%, which is very conservative, considering that they had earning growth of more than 100% in 2020 compared to the previous year. And I use a very aggressive forward PE ratio of 250. As you can see, the current PE ratio is 560, and I'll explain the 250 PE ratio in a minute. With these two assumptions and with the earnings for 2020, I extrapolated into 2021, 2022, and 2023 and arrived at a target price of $280 a share. Let's talk about this PE ratio of 250. First of all, let's look at how fast Square has been growing their earnings. This is from the fourth quarter 2020 shareholder letter issued by Square. They said that for the full year of 2020, Cash App, that's their flagship product, generated $5.97 billion of revenue and $1.23 billion of gross profit. The profit for the Cash App increased 168% year over year. Remember, we're using an assumption of net earnings increase of 54% a year, which is much less than the actual growth here for the Cash App. And if you look at the chart, indeed, there's been very impressive growth in revenue for Cash App. And the revenue for Cash App accounts for more than 60% of the total revenues. If you look at other companies that have high PE historically, let's start with Google. The highest PE ratio Google achieved in recent years was about 58, which was in line with the 60 that I assumed for PayPal, but much lower than the 250 PE ratio that I assumed for Square. But now if you look at Tesla, recently Tesla has been commanding a PE ratio of more than 1,000. That is, of course, much higher than the PE ratio of 250 that I'd assume for Square in the next few years. And for a company that's just about to take off and start growing exponentially, like Tesla, having a high PE ratio is not unusual. And then if you look at Amazon, it looks like Amazon has been having pretty high PE ratio also. And at one point, they were at 1,000. And prior to that, they were even at 2,000 briefly. That's why I believe using a P ratio of 250 is reasonable. However, with that kind of a high P ratio, that means the investment community has very, very high expectation in terms of the revenue growth as well as the profit growth for Square. And that's why I'll be very watchful. And if the situation turns bearish, I'm going to sell my shares quickly before I get burned. However, if the company continues to grow the way it's been growing in the last year, then there will be a lot of profit potential for a stockholder of Square. Let me recap my targets. For PayPal, it's $300 a share. For Square, it's $280 a share before the end of July 2021. If you're watching this video a few days after March 18, 2021, please make sure to check the update section below this video in case I have added update notes. I'd like to also remind you to click the like, subscribe, and notification button if you like what you've seen so far. Thank you very much. This is also for the sake of the YouTube algorithm. As usual, I welcome your comments, questions, and suggestions. I'd like to remind you that I'm not a financial advisor. You should make your own decision with regard to buying or selling stocks, and you should probably consult with financial advisors before you do so. I share my stock trading strategies for educational purpose only. This about wraps up my video for now. I will chat with you in the next few days. In the meanwhile, I'd like to wish you the very best of luck with your financial investments.